Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS slate breakdown for June 13th. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann. I'm back. I'm breaking it down. We have a big slate to go on. It's full send Friday. Let's go after those takedowns. Now come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do. The props, the DFS, you get it all one low price. As always, we're going to go over the perfect lineups, the winning lineups, and then get into today's slate, pitchers to consider, stacks to consider, all that good stuff. Now let's dive straight into it. Yesterday's perfect lineup on DraftKings, Jameson Taillon, Framber Valdez, two high-owned pitchers, two guys went nuts, then a three-man Milwaukee, two-man Houston, two-man White Sox with a one-off of PCA, who just continues to get it done. Winning lineup goes to Achara 10, who had that chalky pitcher duo. And then it was a bit all over the place. Had a two-man St. Louis stack, a run back of Churio, had PCA, had two-man White Sox, with run back of Altuve, and then a Goldschmidt one-off, 161.5, so 32 points off the perfect lineup. And then let's get into FanDuel and see what we got over here. Our perfect lineup, we got Framber, we got a two-man Houston stack, two-man Milwaukee, then PCA, Parker Meadows, and Dylan Carlson with a one-off of Miguel Vargas as well. No winning lineup went to Crafty Lefty, who had Scooble, put up 49, was expensive, was chalky, but did enough to get it done. And then we had a three-man Detroit stack, two-man White Sox, three-man Houston. It's the old 3-3-2, a lot of correlation. These smaller stacks on these small slates do tend to work out a little bit, and they did today for Crafty Lefty, so congrats to him. Now let's jump in to this slate and see what we can uncover here. Starting with pitcher, high-owned spot, Gavin Williams. Ownership's been changing a ton all morning here. Gavin Williams, a little bit ago, was one of the lower-owned guys. Now he's back to a higher-owned guy, so he's not necessarily a pivot anymore, but he was a guy that I was kind of interested in. Now, this is a spot that I don't mind playing both sides of the coin here. Obviously not in the same lineup, in different lineups, but if he's going high-owned, you know, he's 23%. He's averaging 23% less fantasy points when away. We know this Seattle offense can get it going. They can hit some bombs and get some fantasy points. And Gavin Williams has been very up and down. He can give you that 25, mid-20 score, can go 5-6 innings, give you, 6-8 Ks, give you a solid day. But he can also kind of get blown up. Gave up 4 runs in 4 innings versus the Dodgers. Gave up 4 earned runs in 2 innings versus Minnesota. Last time out, 6 innings, 3 earned runs. He can give up some runs. And Seattle can definitely hit a couple bombs. So 31% hard contact, 34% fly balls. I think both sides of this one's a little interesting. He's not my favorite pitcher, but the fact that he can give you mid-20s and is somewhat consistent with it makes me intrigued with him. But I also don't mind a couple Seattle stacks that will be very low owned. It's only a game total of 7. It's one of the lowest game totals on this slate. Or it is the lowest game total on the slate. Next, we got Freddie Peralta, 9,500 versus the Cardinals. 3.82 FIP over his last 20. 4.91 over the last 5. We know there's upside with Freddie P. He just hasn't been as good as we're used to seeing. His strikeout rate has been a little lower than what we're used to seeing. But he's in a decent spot versus the Cardinals. It's another one where I don't mind a little bit. Not going to go overboard on it. Pitching, it's just kind of hard to pick pitchers today. Our top end guys are in, tough matchups. And then we got a few guys that are, cheap that we definitely want to consider. Freddie Peralta is in play for sure. Not a, amazing spot, as the Cardinals don't strike out a lot, but he's better at home and he has upside, so I'm intrigued at his price. Next, we got Bryce Elder, 7,800, 19% owned. Are we going to see Cy Elder again? We know every now and then he's able to come out with these performances that are just amazing. 8 innings, 12 Ks versus the Giants. Now he's facing Colorado, who's terrible, but he is averaging 59% less fantasy points at home. So what to make of that, I don't totally know here. But Elder is a little interesting. 2.99 FIP over his last 5 starts with a 28% K rate. Over the last 20, 4.48 and a 20% K rate. So what are we going to see in the K department is really the big question here. He hasn't typically been a huge strikeout guy. I don't know what happened last game, but he was absolutely dealing. We do have a 26% combined K rate on him. That's due to the splits of last 20 here and then the last 5 here being a little bit of elevated. I kind of have some interest in Elder. It's tough to say, but I do. Michael Wacha, 7,500, 16% owned. It's another guy that's cheap with a little upside in a spot that provides some upside. We know the A's are a little hit or miss. He's averaging 40% more fantasy points at home. A's, however, hitting 303 with a 201 ISO versus right-handed pitching over the last 20 games. So not a spot you really love to seek out. But all in all, Wacha's a solid pitcher. 3.67 FIP over his last 20, 18% K rate. Not a ton of upside in the spot, but I don't mind a little Wacha. It's just another one I'm really not that excited about. Next, we got Garrett Crochet, 10.8K versus the New York Yankees. Look, he is good enough to shut out absolutely anybody. He didn't do too great in New York last time, where he got hit with 5 earned runs and 9 Ks. It's going to be hard to kind of chase that spot, but the guy has a 2.61 FIP, 2.97 over the last 5, mid-30s K rate. Like, I got to get some just because of how good of a pitcher he is, regardless of who he is against. I like him. Not going to go overboard. Probably end up in that 15 to 20% range on him. Next, Clay Holmes, 9K, 13% owned versus Tampa Bay Rays. Holmes came back to earth a little bit lately. 5.7 FIP over his last 5, 4.06 over his last 20. He's fine. It's versus the Rays, but he's 9K, and there's not a huge upside in him, so I'm probably kind of out on that. Next, we got Luis Castillo, 8,500. It's the first pivot that we wanted to talk about, and 13% owned versus Cleveland. We have a game total of 7 here, and the Mariners are slight favorites. So that looks good. Castillo's been solid, 3.19 FIP over his last 5, 22% K rate. That K rate has just came down big time for him over the last couple of years. So not as much upside there as we would expect, but he is way better at home, averaging 40% more fantasy points at home. I have some interest at this 8,500 price. He could definitely get you into mid to high 20s. Next, Yamamoto, 10.6K versus the Giants. Yamamoto is definitely my favorite pay-up option. I would prefer him over Crochet. I don't love facing the Giants, but they haven't been hitting quite as well as they did earlier in the season. Yamamoto can get you 30 plus. 3.39 FIP over his last 20, 3.05 over the last 5, 28% K rate is solid. 20% high contact or hard contact is super low. 48% fly balls is low. I love the spot for Yamamoto. Don't mind going there. 25.5% combined K rate. All right, now bargain shopping. 6,300 Charlie Morton. I love playing both sides of this game. This game, there is some weather concerns, so we got to watch that. But it does profile to be one where there could be lots of scoring. Now, Charlie Morton started off absolutely awful this season, just getting blown up. 4 earned runs and 3.2, 5 earned runs and 5, 4 earned runs and 5, 5 earned runs and 5, 7 earned runs and 2.1. But then he's came back to the starting job, 2 earned runs and 6, 0 earned runs and 6.2, 4 earned runs and 2.2. That's kind of how he has been the last couple of years, where he's been a little boom bust. The ceiling is there in a pitching spot where Angels strike out a decent amount. If you're able to miss some bats, you can get over on them. They're going to hit the ball hard, probably get a home run or two, but they're not very good at piecing together at bats and making pitchers really work for it. So with that, I do like Morton a little bit. 3.41 FIP over his last 5, 27% K rate. Those are solid numbers. Slightly intrigued, but I also do like the Angels side. This Baltimore park at Camden Yards, with how they moved the fences in a little bit, playing up to hitting much more than it did last year, and the Angels team has some power. So I like both sides. 6.32K for Morton is too low, but he can get shelled, and so I like both sides of this. Morton is a nice value pitcher, though, to take a chance on. And one last, Luis Severino, 6,700 versus the Royals. Look, Severino, 4.1 FIP over his last 20, 3.84 over the last 5. Solid numbers, 18% K rate over the last 20. So, limited upside, but he's only 6,700. Can he give you 20? Yes, he can absolutely give you 20. Now, it's not the easiest spot, but he's done very well versus the Royals in the past. I have a little interest in him. I think there is some safety with it. He's good at limiting runs. Chances of high teens is likely. Chances of 20 definitely could get there, but probably a little more unlikely. But he's going low owned, and he's only 6,700. I have a little bit of interest. Not going to go overboard on him, but I don't mind the spot. Now let's get over to FanDuel. High owned pitchers. We got Yamamoto, Elder, Crochet. We talked about them all. Interested in all of them. Don't love Elder at 8,500 on FanDuel, but he can go 6 innings, can rack up some Ks. Don't totally hate it. Freddie Peralta, Castillo firmly in play. Gavin Williams, I don't like as much on FanDuel. He's 8,600, and his chance of 6 innings is just much lower, so don't totally love that spot. We didn't talk about Taj Bradley, but he is a little bit in play. The ceiling is there for him. He has these games where he strikes out 8-10 guys, goes 6 innings, is efficient, can get it done. But you don't love facing the Mets. The Mets are hitting a lot of home runs right now, and Bradley can definitely give that up. Also, 6,500 Charlie Morton, you got to consider. Absolutely have to. He can work efficiently and get some Ks, and is just, bottom of the barrel price. So absolutely intrigued on that price. Now let's get over to some stacks and see what we can uncover here with our high owned stack of the day being the Atlanta Braves versus German Marquez. Absolutely love the spot for the Braves. Fine going there. Marquez just isn't that great. The bullpen behind him is terrible. Sign me up. Baltimore. We got to watch weather here, but it's one of my favorite stacks of the day. Jack Kokonowicz is not good, and the bullpen behind him is even worse. Sign me up. Highest projected stacks. We got Mets versus Bradley. Makes some sense there, as Bradley is boom bust. Allows some home runs. Mets are hitting hard right now. Arizona versus Colic. Arizona is too good of an offense, and Colic isn't that great of a pitcher, so it makes some sense to want to go there. Also in Arizona, and one of the higher game totals. Yankees versus Crochet. Excuse me. And bless me. Yankees, I don't love the spot for it. I don't think Crochet will get blown up by the Yankees 2 games in a row. I have a hard time wanting to go to some stacks there. Dodgers versus Logan Webb. Logan Webb has been consistent versus the Dodgers. Gives up 2-3. Doesn't get blown up. Doesn't have, amazing outings. Not a spot I want to go to. If I get some of the Dodgers, I'm fine, just because of how good that offense is, but definitely not where I'm targeting today. Highest value, we got White Sox versus Texas. I'm fine picking on Texas pretty much whenever that bullpen's not that great. So it makes some sense. White Sox have some guys that can hit the ball hard too. Mets versus Bradley. Talked about that. We love it. Athletics versus Waka. I'm fine. He's okay. 4.6 FIP over his last 5 isn't great, but 3.67 over his last 10 last 20 is solid. Mets are your leverage stack, and TB and Dodgers are mixing in there a little bit. Implied run total 5.9 from Baltimore, by far and away is your highest. It is the best spot of the day. 0.6 run difference between them and Atlanta is a lot. Atlanta is obviously interesting at 5.3 as well. They got a similar setup with poor pitcher, poor bullpen behind them. Arizona at 5 obviously has some interest. Texas does look like Adrian Hauser's on the other side. Love some Texas bats right now, and they've been hitting. Berger's been hitting. Carter's been on an absolute tear. Simeon's finally hitting. I don't mind some Texas bats. And then Boston, 4.6 versus Yarborough. They absolutely blew up Yarborough last time. I have some interest there. But Yarborough's been solid. Angels, 4.6 versus Charlie Morton, one of my favorite stacks. And then Mets versus Bradley. Padres at 4.5 versus Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson has been decent. 3.93 FIP over his last 20, 4.13 over his last 20. The thing, though, is bullpen behind him is poor. If the Padres can start hitting early, they become pretty interesting because they can get into that bullpen quick. Royals at 4.4 versus Severino, don't totally love it. Detroit versus Nick Martinez, don't totally love it. Dodgers, don't love it versus Logan Webb. So now let's get into some of my different stacks that I'm intrigued on. Seattle, only a 3.5 game total or implied total, but it's versus Gavin Williams. He can give it up. Have some interest there. Don't love Cleveland. Cincinnati versus Montero. Montero is going to have somebody opening for him, but he is going to be bulk relief. I think Cincinnati has a little bit of interest versus him. Minnesota versus Colton Gordon is one of my favorite spots. Houston versus Paddock is extremely interesting and one I will play some of. They've been hitting well. Paddock, while good, can get blown up. He's one of those guys where he relies on 2 pitches, so if one isn't working, it's batting practice. So have some interest there. And then as we go up a little bit, Angels, Baltimore, Atlanta, clearly favorites. Gonna have some Arizona, and then I love Texas. That'll do it for us today. You guys have a good one. We'll be back more with next week. Talk to y'all later. Peace.